Welcome back to Blender, everybody. I'm your host, the Housecoat Gamer, and today I have been a busy little land shark, haven't I? Yes, I've been very busy, making many starships. Let's start with the kind of obvious. The 4 SFC Romulan vessels. Smallest first, at least in terms of class definition, the Senator class, with its unique 3-wing configuration. This was a bit of a pain in the rear end to do. Turned out cup-shaped instead of, well, what I wanted, but what can you do? Now you might notice that the nacelles here look very similar to the ones I used on the new Centurion. That's intentional. After all, works for one starship, it can work for another. And, well, scale up, scale down. Works for the Galaxy class. Actually, it works pretty much for any starship, really. So long as the proportions fit. So yeah, I'm going to presume in Home Trek, this will be the new Romulan command cruiser. The new battle cruiser, of course, is going to be this thing, the Imperium class, from SFC. And SFC2 and Klingon Academy. Yeah, I decided to make a model for something that kind of already exists for one simple reason. Nobody wants to make it available. But now you can. Go ahead. If you want to 3D print these things and paint them, go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. Hell, I'm going to encourage it. Because these older games really need some more love. And certain starships just needed a better glow up anyways. Behold, the War Eagle, or the King Condor. Well, Condor, whatever. Now I'm going to fully admit there's some problems here. Mostly due to the fact that, well, remember when I said that my brain doesn't do exceptionally complex patterns well? Well, I tried taking screenshots of this ship. And while I did succeed, it didn't end well for my brain. Let's just say I had to clean up my keyboard and leave it at that. So, I decided to do what had to be done. I imported the model from SFC using a model viewer and used it as a template. I'm about as happy with it as anybody listening to this. I would be happy if someone built a freaking ortho of this thing. If somebody went and drew it, then I'd be a lot more happy. Now the Home Trek team is going to have to clean this thing up a little bit. And add some details that I wasn't able to due to the fact that my brain decided to break. Looking at raw textures. Ugh, I hate my life. Yes, Aztecing hurts. In more ways than one, especially with me. I really should gun these things up, but then again, they don't really have any weapons ports to use. On the other hand, then there's this pain. Look, before anybody gets to complain about the design of my Imperial Hawk, this is how it looks in the games. And I didn't design the wings. If I did, they would look a little more elegant. Maybe a little blockier. Instead, they have all these odd angles, which was a pain in the rear end to replicate. That, and nobody wants to make an ortho of this thing. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe it's because Starfleet Command is a really niche game for Trek people instead of just everybody else. Hopefully this will end up somewhere that isn't pure Trek and used by somebody else. And please, don't start about the design of the nacelles. This is how they looked in Klingon Academy and SFC2. The only thing I added here was the spinal lance. There are 3 super heavy beam disruptor cannons mounted here. I mean, there was a bulge there in the model, so I might as well use it for something. Moving from the Klingons, moving from the Romulans, the Klingons. Behold! The Suspicious class. The Pich, I think the pronunciation in Klingon is. They don't have a pronunciation guide. There are obviously 3 variants here. One is the battle frigate. That one I built first. The cargo frigate was the second one, and it was also the second simplest to modify. That roll bar was a pain in my rear end. And yes, those cargo pods are separate from the rest of the model. Look, I did design the Bloody Wing. This is the jamming cruiser frigate thing, with all of its antenna. The only thing I did here was drastically cut down how many antennae were stacked onto it, for simplicity's sake. That said, the Home Trek team is going to have some fun with this. Yes, it does have satellite dishes. They spin. And from Klingons to the next race. Gorn. You might be able to recognize the types here. Destroyer, light cruiser, heavy cruiser, and dreadnought. And all of these are Gorn too. I believe this is a scout ship, this is a frigate, transport, and I think this is a heavy cruiser. These 3 obviously are from SFB. You might recognize them from Orion Pirates Plus. The rest of these are from VASA, which explains their drastically different designs. There's going to be a lore excuse for this, but unlike the boys that are currently running the show over at Paramount, idiots, I actually have a pretty good excuse for this. You see, in Arena, the first time the Federation ever made contact with the Gorn, kind of confirming that STD and Strange New Worlds are not in the Prime timeline. Ain't that a bitch? The Enterprise went to Warp 8 first. Then the Gorn ship went to Warp 8 and broke down. shortly before the Enterprise did. So, after the whole Cestus 3 crap was dealt with, and Starfleet and the Gorn had a little powwow, they discovered that Starfleet ships were better at sustaining higher warp speeds. Who would have thunk it? And so there was a contrasting line of thought. Do we continue with Gorn designs, see FASA as an example, or do we embrace some Starfleet stuff? So there was a bit of a compromise. There'd be a trial run of some Starfleet-inspired ships. The ones from SFB, obviously. While Starfleet tech would be incorporated into pure Gorn designs, SFC and FASA, obviously, and go from there. Yeah. I haven't been as busy modeling as some people would like me to be. That said, this isn't all of my most recent work. I've actually been slowing down a little bit. But hey, could be worse. And please, don't complain about the fact that these things look a little derpy. I had to work from really crappy model work here. You see, I had to actually had to find a paint guide for these things. And, well, these are essentially replicas of the miniatures. Not exactly the best option I could have. But, here we are. If you think you can do better, tell me. Show me. I will gladly say it's the better option. Same with the FASTA ships. I had some really crappy orthos with these. Lots of big, dirty black lines. And somebody really didn't use a ruler. So, I did my best. Eventually, I just had to give up. Regardless, I do so hope you enjoyed this update. At this moment in time, I am working on the Lyran Star League. Or is it Star Empire? Whichever. All I know is lots of Lyran ships. Because I promised to handle the Big 6 of the original SFC before I deal with the Interstellar Concordium and the Mirac, which is probably me going to be ripping a lot of SFB stuff out of necessity. Yeah, also the Hydrons, who are also going to be using a few modified Klingon designs. It's complicated. Housecoat Gaming, signing off.